Good afternoon, historians. Well, here we are. We've made it to the end of another course together. I hope that you have learned as much as I have about the history of American economics and entrepreneurship. I've actually put this course off for a few semesters because, to put it frankly, I was dreading it. However, just like with anything in life, it is in those times of great difficulty and hardship that we learn the most about ourselves. As you may have noticed, I'm standing in front of the magnificent King's College Chapel here at the University of Cambridge. I had the distinct privilege to do a bit of research for the final assignment at the University Library just across the way over there. Speaking of the final assignment, as you are all aware through the two research discussion posts, my research focus went through many transformations. Ultimately, what I settled on was an exploration of the relationship between the War Industries Board and the war economy of World War I. This relationship represented a monumental change in how government and industry interacted in times of war, as it set a precedent for the future wars in which the United States was involved. My research question for the final paper ended up being, how did the War Industries Board establish precedents in wartime economic policy during World War I? Answering this question became my thesis. The War Industries Board, or the WIB, though dissolved at the conclusion of the war in 1919 upon serving its primary function, set the precedents for how the United States would mobilize for future conflicts, eventually leading to what President Dwight D. Eisenhower not so affectionately dubbed the military-industrial complex. To evaluate this claim, one must first establish the contextual basis on which the WIB was formed, by looking at the history of the government-industrial relationship, the role the executive branch played in preparing for its realization, as well as the background of the man responsible for the conceptualization of the WIB, Bernard Baruch. Secondly, explore its operational capacity as well as its funding, and finally, delineate future iterations of the WIB used in subsequent conflicts in which the United States was involved. For this last thread, I had to look no further than the War Production Board of World War II. Guess who was selected by President Roosevelt to lead the WPB? That's correct, Bernard Baruch. Baruch would also go on to advise President Truman following the death of FDR. Wilsonian idealism wove its way throughout foreign policy of the 20th century and even into the 21st, which is quite astounding considering that President Woodrow Wilson was a staunch isolationist for much of his presidency. Some of the key primary sources that I used for my research were the meeting minutes of the War Industries Board or committee hearings of the War Finance Committee. Also, I've referenced quite a few personal correspondences between some of the major players involved, such as Bernard Baruch and President Woodrow Wilson. Overall, I learned quite a bit about the important role that economics has played throughout our nation's history. And the deeper I delved, the deeper the research seemed to go further still. I believed I only scratched the surface. It was quite the experience, and I enjoyed working through it with you lot. Cheers.